Brother, most men don't fall apart loudly. They don't explode. They don't crash. They don't ruin their lives overnight. What happens is they drift quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. And if you're being honest, you felt it. It's not a collapse. It's a slow fade. And you're still strong. You're still respected. You're still producing. But something feels thinner than it used to. Your patience isn't what it was. Your presence isn't as steady. Your clarity feels just a little foggier. Because here's the truth that most men never hear, and that strength without structure leaks. And by the end of this episode, you're going to understand why strong men drift and why nothing you try alone will actually fix it. Welcome to The Sacred Gentleman, a formation podcast for men who want to walk with God, lead with presence, and build a legacy that outlives themselves. This is part 3 of a 4-part New Year's series, Why Men Fail Their Resolutions. In part 1, we talked about identity. In part 2, we talked about discipline. Today, we confront the piece that most men resist, and that's brotherhood. Here's the belief that absolutely has to fall today. And if it doesn't fall, everything else will remain effort without alignment. No man sustains alignment alone. Not because he's weak, not because he lacks discipline, but because discipline only delays drift. It doesn't correct it. Now, I already know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking things like, well, that's not true for me, or I've been fine on my own, or I'm disciplined already, or I can handle my business, right? And I understand why you think that, guys. I definitely understand why you think it. Because being alone has worked, at least for a while. You've gotten in shape alone. You advanced your career alone. You've cleaned up habits alone. So your mind, it connects solo effort with success. And here's the problem with that. Solo effort works best only in the simple seasons. But life, it doesn't stay simple, guys. Marriage adds weight. Children adds weight. Leadership adds weight. And your calling, it adds a ton of weight. Eventually, the load increases. And what used to be manageable alone quietly becomes unsustainable. Not overnight and not dramatically, slowly. That's why most strong men don't collapse, they drift. Here's the old model that most men were taught. If I just stay disciplined, everything else is going to fall into place. And that sounds right. It also feels responsible. But here's the reality. Discipline, it can help you maintain momentum. It cannot provide external correction. No system stays aligned without feedback. No blade stays sharp without contact. And no man stays oriented to his calling without other men who are close enough to tell him the truth when he's drifting. And that's not weakness. It's actually design. I learned the power of brotherhood the right way at first. When I joined the Iron Council, everything changed. I wasn't alone anymore. I was accountable. I was sharpened. I was surrounded by men who expected a higher level from me. Men who expected me to live to my potential. And in that organization, I even rose in leadership. I rose to the highest ranks. I became the chief operations officer. I saw patterns that most men never see in themselves. Brotherhood works, but there's a part of the story that most men never talk about. Brotherhood works until it loses direction. And I didn't quite understand that yet. When I made the decision to leave the Iron Council, it was unlike a lot of men who leave leadership there. I didn't leave angry. There wasn't any blow up. There wasn't a betrayal. There was no dramatic exit. I left with confidence, and confidence is where most strong men get trapped. I remember thinking things inside my head like, I've grown now. I've done the work. I don't need this brotherhood the way that I used to. And if you're honest, you've had that moment too. It doesn't feel arrogant. It feels earned. You've suffered. You've changed habits. You've proven something to yourself. So you don't leave the brotherhood bitter. You leave thinking you've outgrown the need for it. At first, nothing changed. And this matters because drift, it never announces itself. I kept training. I kept working. I kept showing up. And from the outside, my life, it still looked highly disciplined. And if someone had asked me, "Are you okay?" I would have said, "Hell yeah." But underneath the surface, something was shifting. I stopped checking myself as hard, not intentionally, not rebelliously, just subtly. I didn't have anyone asking me those questions anymore, those ones that made me uncomfortable. And when no one is asking those questions, you stop asking them too. Guys, my inner voice, it sounded reasonable. It would tell me things like, "I'm fine. This isn't a big deal. You don't need another group." These weren't destructive thoughts. They were calming thoughts, the kind of thoughts that let you stay comfortable. They let you stay comfortable while something important is quietly slipping away. And I know some of you recognize that voice because you're still functioning too. You're still producing. You're still respected. But something doesn't feel quite as sharp as it used to. I remember one night sitting alone and the house was quiet. I had my phone in my hand. There weren't any messages coming in, no one expecting anything from me. And I felt this tightness in my chest, that subtle knot you only feel when you realize no one is watching your blind spots anymore. Not in a controlling way, but in an accountability way, in a sharpening way. Here's the dangerous part. Drift doesn't destroy your life immediately, it thins it. Your patience shortens, your presence weakens, your clarity dulls. Not enough for anyone else to call it out, but enough for you to feel it. And that's when it hit me. What hit me was strength without structure leaks, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. And the stronger you are, the longer that it takes to notice that leak. Because strength covers drift for a while, but it doesn't stop it. Most men resist brotherhood for one reason, and it's not weakness, it's experience. You've carried the weight before. You've handled the pressure before. You've survived alone before. So of course your mind, it says, "I don't need accountability. I'm self-motivated. I handle my shit." And here's the truth. You're not wrong. Life just eventually outgrows solo strength. Men don't drift because they're lazy. They drift because no one corrects them anymore. The second false belief men have is that men's groups simply don't work. And I get that, guys. I absolutely get that. You're saying to yourself right now, "I've tried groups before. It didn't work out. That group was soft or it turned soft over time." And what happens is you show up hopeful and you leave disappointed. And guys, that belief makes sense. I've had all of those beliefs. And here's the problem with most men's groups. They optimize for a man's comfort. They don't optimize for accountability. They don't optimize for correction. They don't optimize for calling. They're simply there to make you feel better. They don't sharpen you. They confuse things like vulnerability with growth, talking with formation, community with actual brotherhood. Guys, let me get something straight here. Brotherhood is not therapy. Brotherhood is structure. Brotherhood is expectation, and brotherhood is direction. And if you remove any one of those, men will stall. Here's the correction that most men never hear. You don't need more friends. You need structured formation. You need identity. You need discipline, and you need brotherhood. And all of those aimed at your calling. Without aim, brotherhood simply becomes noise. With aim, though, it becomes formation. Brother, we're going to slow down here for a minute. This is where we're going to take action, because this is not theory, nor is it therapy. This is where it gets real. All right, guys, step one. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to ask ourselves, who has permission to challenge me right now? And I want you to notice what your body does when you hear that question. Did your body tense up? Did it feel resistance? Did your mind say something like, I don't need that, or I'll figure it out, or I've been burned before? Guys, that's not truth. That's protection. That's your fight or flight instincts talking. So if the answer is no one, guys, you're already drifting. Step 2 brings us to the next question. I want you to ask yourself, why do I resist brotherhood? Is it pride? Is it due to some past wounds? Could it be distrust? Or are you choosing comfort? Avoidance always has a reason, and an unexamined avoidance simply becomes isolation. Step 3 means it's reality check time, guys. I want you to ask yourself honestly, do I have friends but no accountability? Do I have community but I have no structure? Do I have conversations with other men who don't hold me accountable and there's no correction? Guys, brotherhood requires all 3. In step 4, we're going to get uncomfortable. I'm going to ask you the uncomfortable question, and I want you to ask yourself this as well. What will drift cost me if nothing changes? Guys, will it cost you your marriage? Is it going to cost you your leadership at home, at work? Is it going to cost you your spiritual edge? What about your legacy? Eventually, every man will choose structure, either intentionally or after the drift truly costs him something. Now that we've done the internal work, we've asked the questions. Here's the external step that I want you to take in step 5. And this isn't tomorrow. This isn't next week. Today, I want you to reach out to one man, and I want you to say something like this. I need real accountability, man. I don't need encouragement. I don't need advice unless I ask for it. What I need is accountability. I need correction. This single move breaks isolation. And isolation, guys, is the real enemy. Guys, I want you to repeat after me on this. Here's what you're going to say. I don't need brotherhood because I'm weak. I need brotherhood because I'm called. That shift will change everything for you. I'll say that one more time. I don't need brotherhood because I'm weak. I need brotherhood because I'm called. Brother, if this episode is landing, you already know something has to change. Not because you're failing, because alignment cannot be sustained alone, and you know it. And this is why I'm creating a new breed of men. This man who I refer to as the sacred gentleman. Through this podcast, through live events, through coaching, courses, and work, I've been working on this. But on January 12th, there's a unique opportunity because the doors will open to the Knight's Order where men can gather as sacred gentlemen in an exclusive online community, take part in custom courses created only for the order, and be able to join the mission with other men who are already in this brotherhood. Not as a club, not as therapy, but as formation. It's launching January 12th. No pressure, just preparation. However, the men who join the wait list from now till then with a commitment will reserve their seat at a discounted rate as long as they qualify. Contact me for more information. This shift will change everything. Brother, you were never meant to carry this weight alone. Strength, it grows in contact. Clarity grows in community. Legacy, it grows in alignment. Next week, we're going to close out this series. We'll talk about the system that actually holds it all together. Identity, discipline, brotherhood, and how together they finally produce legacy. Guys, I'll see you in part 4.